Hello, art friends. My name is Fleshwad, and recently I asked you guys on Instagram to make me choose between two horror movies. I had originally planned on just answering these on Instagram, but then I thought maybe it would be a fun, cute video idea. Plus, I could go more in depth about my choices and reasonings. Shout out to those of you who gave me some choices. One of you in particular, at ninar.cause, gave me a ton, so thank you so much for that. By the way, in the background of this video, I am working on possibly a new OC. I don't actually know if I will do anything with her in the future, but as Fleshwad, I needed to have a butcher OC. I think I will name her Meat. Side note before we begin, if I haven't seen either movie or both of the movies, I will discard the question as I can't really compare them if I haven't seen either or both. Let's get to choosing. Make me choose. Scream 3 and A Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors. So if you didn't know this about me, A Nightmare on Elm Street is my all-time favorite slasher franchise. Freddy is my favorite slasher, as you can tell by this TikTok I made recently. Psst, please follow me on TikTok if you aren't yet. I also did recently rewatch the entire Scream franchise, so it's still very fresh in my mind. That being said, the choice is extremely easy for me. I choose A Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors. That movie is actually my favorite movie in the whole A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I love the cast of this one as well as the kills. I think they're so creative, like the most creative out of the entire series. And in this movie, more so in the other movies, they did a really good job at connecting you with each of the characters, which made the kills all that more meaningful. And unfortunately, I do think Scream gets worse with every movie made, and that's just in my opinion. I'm not that big of a fan of Scream. I do understand that it's satire and making fun of like horror movie tropes, but I'm just not the biggest fan of Scream, let alone the third movie itself. Carrie 2013 and original Carrie. I know how we always hear the original is better than the remake, and that remains true for me in this choice. I did, however, watch both of these a long time ago, but I remember thinking that the original was much better than the remake. I think the original played with emotion a lot better, and the Carrie in the original seemed more sheltered, which I think made her easier to empathize with. The new Carrie seems to know much more what's going on around her, which I feel like makes her less empathetic as someone who's getting bullied. She's also a lot prettier in the context of high school girls, which I don't think relates well to the story at all. The Conjuring and Annabelle. So Annabelle is actually a part of the Conjuring universe, which makes this choice a little funny. I've actually watched the full Conjuring universe movies in order a couple years ago, as it's one of my favorite horror franchises as well. I think without a doubt The Conjuring beats Annabelle, but I did re-watch Annabelle when I had my son, and if you didn't know, the movie follows a pregnant wife who's then just had her baby, so watching it as a mother is definitely a different kind of fear with one scene in particular. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. That being said, I'm still picking The Conjuring, as I loved the plot of that movie way more than Annabelle. Orphan and the Blair Witch Project. This one is hard because I don't like either that much at all. I don't like Orphan, but I think it's because I don't like to see kid killers. Although she's not technically a kid in the movie, she is still shown as a kid in the beginning, which makes it iffy for me. I also don't like how sexualized it got in the end, so it's a big no for me. It's creepy in a bad way. And the Blair Witch Project, I haven't seen the remake yet, but the original is just a bit too slow for me, with nothing really happening until the end. And even then, since it's found footage, the shot isn't that great. Like, I don't think the reveal was worth all the build-up. Although it has been a while since I last watched it, out of these two, I'd rather rewatch the Blair Witch Project for sure, though. It and The Conjuring. The It remake is one of my favorite remakes to date. Since no date is mentioned, I'll just be using the remake for this choice. I love the cast and the storyline and the aesthetics of the movie as well. Easy choice. It. The Shining or Misery. So you probably didn't know this about me, but I think The Shining is one of the most, if not the most, overrated horror movie of all time. I absolutely hate it. I despise it. I will not watch it again. It's so slow that I don't think any of the iconic horror scenes that we get from the movie are even actually worth sitting through the movie. Misery is definitely a much better Stephen King adaptation. It's got seclusion and body horror. Misery terrifies me way more. The Nightmare Before Christmas or Coraline. Both are so high on my list of animated horror. However, I have to go with The Nightmare Before Christmas solely for its rewatch factor. I could rewatch The Nightmare Before Christmas way more times than Coraline. But I do also think that's because Coraline has much of a more detailed storyline, where A Nightmare Before Christmas kind of has like two storylines because we get like Christmas and we also get Halloween. So I think it's more fun to rewatch. Both are top tier animated horror in my opinion. Orphan and Saw. I don't even see these two being that comparable, to be honest. But like I mentioned before, I hate Orphan, so Saw all the way. Malignant and Men. I haven't seen Men, so I'm not going to be able to technically choose between this, but I have to tell you, Malignant is terrifying. It's amazing. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Watch it now. Halloween versus Friday the 13th. Surprisingly, I found Halloween to be just a bit cheesy for my tastes. I think it was mostly due to the soundtrack or killer POV shots as well. Friday the 13th for the win. Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? While yes, these ones aren't movies, I'm going to include them anyway. I think as a kid who loves horror, growing up you were either a Goosebumps kid or an Are You Afraid of the Dark kid. I don't think you can really be both, and I was totally a Goosebumps kid. Sometimes around Halloween, I will even rewatch old episodes. The nostalgia is real, but even till this day, I think some of the episodes still terrify me. The Conjuring and Insidious. I think this is the ultimate versus between two horror movies. Both The Conjuring and Insidious have made such big names for themselves in the horror world. It's also crazy to me how they both have the same male lead, Patrick Wilson, aka Ed Warren, aka Josh Lambert. I hate how they did that because sometimes the movies do get confusing since it's the same actor. If we were to be putting up a Conjuring universe versus the Insidious universe, like universes as the whole, The Conjuring would win all the way. But if we were just putting the first two movies against each other, I would have to pick Insidious. It's more terrifying in my opinion, and the soundtrack is just chef's kiss of horror. To be honest, choosing between horror movies has never been too hard for me. I'm definitely a I can take it or leave it type of person. These choices were fun. Thank you guys for participating and giving me some choices to choose from. I hope you enjoyed this fun little video. I'm thinking Saturdays will be for just whatever I want to post, whatever fun video I have for the week. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a couple more horror movie topics I'd like to make videos on by Halloween. So if you enjoyed this type of video, if you like hearing me talk about horror movies, definitely be on the lookout for more. Let me know if there were any choices I made that you disagreed or agreed with in the comments below. Make sure to like this video if you liked the art. and to subscribe if you haven't. Thank you so much for watching, Art Friends. Until the next video, bye!